SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure Monosity.
What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning,
Hey.
afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast, episode number 81, the big 8-1. That's really not anything like too crazy, though. Jeep is on 81 at this point, aren't they?
Don't put that pressure on me.
Can't math that fast.
I can't
again.
math.
It's too early.
If you know, here's the thing, folks. You know what's happening right now. If you're
Somebody
one of
tell
our
us
listeners,
if Neil's right.
It's not 81. There's no way.
you're
We're
one
in
of our
23
listeners.
close.
and 41. No, it's not 81.
He's close because my dad is also a 41 model, and I should know this.
Listen. Hold on a second. We're going to get back to that, but right now our listeners are confused because we're off our bat. We are off our bats.
This is all Neil's fault.
So I did a thing.
He did a thing.
I did a thing. So if you're listening, understand that the viewers can see us doing a thing. Jeffrey and I are cuddling on a love seat right now.
Yeah.
And
Love is in
Scott's
the air.
And
Whoa.
Scott still gets to stare
and
stare
Scott gets to
longingly into my
stare
eyes.
longingly into
but he
Jeff's
also gets
eyes.
to stare
I
in
don't like
yours.
change.
Now I know I get to see him. So
I don't like change, so they had to
Listeners,
slowly
understand-
put me into this.
we've
Slowly.
yet changed
This morning he came in and he goes, "What? Why are we doing this?"
How dare you change anything in my life? So we have kind of resituated our podcast studio space yet again, and this is attributed to Kevin Halloran.
I thought you
reached
went
out-
to an antique mall and got a couch.
Well, I'll tell you about that couch here in a second when we do some maths. But Kevin was like, I really think it would be cool, the nature of the conversation, the character that you guys are all. We'd love to see you kind of lounge back a little bit and not be.
I mean, that
up-
chair did get hard after a while, so I do
The
appreciate.
chair was hard.
This is so much more comfortable.
This
we
is
just
very comfortable.
we just did
You
the
just
first podcast this morning, and it is so much better.
You just
So-
look like you're at Nana's house. That's
Yeah,
all.
we are
I'm
at
okay
Nana's
with that.
house. This is literally Grandma's couch.
Can we get some doilies on
And,
my arms?
Oh, we need
Oh, we
doilies.
got-
we need coffee cake.
Oh,
Oh,
Jenny.
coffee.
Jenny's coffee cake.
Jenny's
though.
coffee
A nice
cake. Or
little-
if another
an
customer
antique
wants to
mug
make
with
us-
coffee in it, some coffee
We need
cake.
the
Potpourri.
thing in the middle of the couch that nobody knew what it was
Potpourri.
for, though.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a lot of comments coming in, people saying hello and good morning. I actually have a monitor again. I'm not actually, but I get to see
I don't
Jeff.
know.
He's
accept-
sharing it with me, so
I'm sharing with
I
Jeffrey.
don't accept this monitor. We need a
I
bigger
don't
monitor.
accept this
we are
monitor.
working towards getting the bigger monitor
With
back.
the bigger monitor.
But I mean, literally, I was here at 7 this morning building the new studio. So
So there's a lot to cover if you're listening in. Happy 4th of July. This is intended to just be a fun conversation, celebratory of America's birthday. And we're going to talk a little bit about the studio. We're going to talk about a little bit of our upcoming
So,
activities.
I'm going to read some of these comments.
Okay.
Because they're just coming in too quick. So we've got good morning, Darla.
Morning, Darla.
Paul saying he likes the new look. Amy saying good morning, guys.
Good morning, honey.
Amy says we're missing the plastic on the couch.
Oh, true
Squeaks
that.
every time you move.
Darla says you need a couch pillows, and couches always need a blanket.
That's true.
Oh, I've got a blanket under my.
You know what?
I have a snuggly blanket right here, Darla. This is
Where's the Jeep
church that I
blanket?
was married in. I'm gonna snuggle with it.
We need a
Oh,
Jeep
we
blanket.
could have Jeep blankets.
Yeah.
So then, you know what else we're missing? We're missing the cookie tin that's actually full of sewing stuff.
Ooh,
Oh,
the
that's-
blue one.
Yes, it had to be the blue one.
Terrible cookies, but good tins.
Oh, see, I like
The
the
shortbread
cookies.
You
cookies.
would
They're
like
I,
those
shortbread
I
cookies.
like those cookies.
You would. You would. God bless it. Both 80-year-olds and twin bodies. All right. So there's a lot going on, and again, this is supposed to be kind of just a fun, playful conversation because it is most people are off observing 4th of July, and we came in specifically to do podcasts and relate with our live viewing audience. If you are one of our listeners right now, and we're joining you in your ear holes while you're commuting or mowing the lawn or working, we appreciate you making us a priority in your listening experience. However, on a particular, appropriate holiday or observation day, you too can join us live at 10:19 a.m. on Mondays on Facebook. We had one of our listeners reach out to me over the weekend. Did not realize that we actually go live on Facebook. Listens to us, but didn't understand the nature.
Said that a couple of times.
A couple times, but
okay.
if you
No
are
judgment.
no judgment, if you are somebody who enjoys listening, you too can be one of the people who's in on the conversation. It's not
Honestly, it's better just to listen. We don't have good faces.
Speak for yourself, Jeff.
Oh, listen to Scott.
From the twin over there.
Oh my goodness. And that's the thing is this is while we do have a Patreon group where we hang out in the Discord and share pictures and conversations, and that is a group of supporters who ensure that the show goes on.
It's an awesome group.
It is an awesome group, and we invite
It's a
you
lot
to
of
join
fun.
us if you're not already in there. However, if you're just a listener that wants to get involved, you can join us on the live and be one of these people hanging out in the comments and commenting and sharing and interacting with us. You're welcome to do that at any point in time. These podcasts are filmed in front of a live studio audience. No, not studio.
Davey.
Live.
Davey's our audience.
Davey. The
Every once
savage.
in a while, we get a customer who comes in and
We
watches.
do, and they like to watch as well. So.
The fun thing too is for holidays, we find that a lot of people don't have to schedule their fake meetings.
Yes.
So we're looking for all the extra
We're here
interactions.
for it, though, if you
we're
still
here
want
for
to.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Fake meetings or business calls or
Yeah.
that fake
Hiding out in the
dentist
bathroom.
appointment for your kid, hiding in the bathroom for now. without a doubt. Well, it was a big weekend. I want to address the new setup because I really am digging the kind of lounge effect. I actually really enjoyed when we were seated at our newscaster studio table. But then we didn't have enough room for guests and for Jeffrey to join us. And
Well, now Chip's saying he wants to have room we have room for the Savage too. So
we have
Davey should come over and sit next to Scott.
Savage could fit in there. We'll see if we can get in there and cuddle at some
Pulling
point. So the thing is, the reality, I'm an incredibly
Scott,
nostalgic.
it's pulling teeth, but if we could get Neil's wife on last week, we could
That's
get
true.
Davey on.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't get a chance to see it though, so I don't know if it actually happened.
Oh, it happened.
I don't know what happened. You got to see it to believe it.
It was a fun episode.
It was a good episode. It was excellent. If you didn't catch that and you're joining us today, go back, find that. She does a tell-all.
Exist.
She does exist, and she does a tell-all.
We learned a lot about Neil in his early days.
And you know what? Let's talk about the fact that because of that episode, Chip and his bride Erin made the most spectacular leopard and plaid print graphics, vinyl graphics for us. So thank you for that.
He tried to take the plaid, and I was like, he's not
I'm
allowed.
taking both.
Did it end up on Chuck?
It has not yet. I am.
Fail.
So listen. There are no stickers on Chuck Norris, and so
I thought
on
there was a
Old
hand
Blue,
wave.
there's a hand wave and there's an
That's-
SFJ 4x4.
Okay.
I
But
think it needs the Jeep on in
the Jeep on will
cheetah
probably be one of the first stickers that Chuck ever gets. Old Blue, we can sticker up and graphic and do all that kind of stuff. For whatever reason, Chuck, I just really love the black and the gray, the simplicity of it. But that cheetah print Jeep on is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So as you see, out and about with Chuck, you might have to look for the Jeep on sticker or stickers. I'll
Maybe
be
take a
honest with you.
picture and tag us in it.
Oh my goodness! If you see that,
Yeah.
Where's
you
Chuck?
see that? Where's Chuck? And where's the Jeep on? So, as we get into our fun and light conversation for the day, we have a lot to cover from the weekend. We usually try to do a little bit of personal updates. I saw some very cool things come out of Scott. We had a big 4th of July celebration here where we, as our quote-unquote entry into the parade with all of our Jeep community and families, took second place in the local parade. Didn't even know that we could
I
play.
was
I was
told-
gonna say I had no idea there was places.
Yeah, I didn't know there was places
I
up to
didn't
this
either.
point.
Yeah.
I heard we
Been
were
doing this 11 years. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
at 40 Jeep strong.
We had 40 plus Jeeps Jeep strong.
I heard
I
we
had
were the
registered
parade.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, we murdered the parade. we were the parade.
Yep.
It's always fun to be at the back and you see the kids like, oh, it's another Jeep.
Another Jeep. The enthusiasm is waning.
There was a big chicken behind us.
I was
All I
gonna say,
heard was a
there
chicken.
was a big chicken. There was
There was
someone in
a
a chicken
chicken.
costume. Next year, we're going to be taking volunteers for people who want to walk in chicken costumes and Uncle Sam costumes.
Amy already
along the
elected
Jeeps.
who needs to do it.
Oh, did she?
I have you 2 guesses.
Oh
Me?
man,
No.
Oh,
I
No,
already
you
know.
expect you too much.
Savage.
No.
No, it's me. Without question, it's me.
It's Jeffrey.
Yeah, totally.
Jeffrey.
I actually almost brought the Grinch costume.
Oh,
I
that would've
really,
been-
I thought
You would
about
have
doing.
sweated out of
It
it.
was
know what we
so
should
hot
do?
that I knew that I would.
You
wouldn't.
know what we should do? We should because we do the Christmas parade and we're such a big as a Jeep community, we really support the local Christmas parade. We should do next year Christmas in July on the Jeeps. Like we already have the
Wear a
decorations.
Halloween suit over our winter jacket.
Your what suit?
Uh,
What word did you
never
try
mind.
to use?
It's gone. It's gone.
I really want to know what word you
I
were trying
really
to
wanna
say.
know what you
Hawaiian shirt over our
Hawaii.
jacket.
How,
He-
that was
what
not even
word
close to
did he
Hawaiian.
Say
Sometimes my brain puts the wrong word together.
the long,
I
the
don't
wrong
know how you got
emphasis
that one.
on the wrong syllable. That's what Scott just did. He
So
hit the
bad.
wrong emphasis. So I'm going to talk about the couches real quick. We'll get this out of the way because I am an incredibly nostalgic individual, and these actually, interestingly enough, these couches that we are seated on are one of them is literally Grandma's couch. However,
We can tell.
right, it smells like it too. So the way the studio is set up right now has been a evolution, right? Of trying to figure out what fits
I'm going to
our
interject.
style. Yeah.
We have changed our season number every time we've changed the studio. So
Uh-oh.
this is now season 4 as of today.
Season 4 as of today. Okay. That makes it's funny because each season is about 20 episodes long, right? Roughly
Ish,
speaking.
Ish.
Right, ish, right. It's close. So I think that as we find a environment that fits our needs, and it's also, I think it's an interesting thing about progress and bettering ourselves because when Scott and I started, it was just about getting in front of people and sharing our message, sharing our brand, sharing who we are authentically to our listening and viewing audiences.
I'm trying to rub off on you there.
You did, right? You got me. and so so originally it was just you and I sitting side by side,
Yeah.
and which is a great metaphor for the nature of the business in general, realistically. But then, as we continued, and that was in Old Blue,
Yeah.
honestly, and doing
in
it
the
out of
cave.
the Jeep in the cave, and then when we
That was before they had a producer.
that was
Yeah,
before we
you would've had a stroke.
an actual producer.
We're
who was-
recording off my phone. I didn't know how to do it.
Oh, it was interesting.
Honestly, though, I really like the concept of doing it in the Jeep. I thought that was a great
Yeah.
idea.
Well, we need to just have a fake Jeep that we sit in.
Yeah, the challenge was
That'd be fun.
we were just sitting in a Jeep and it was taking up workspace.
We should replace our table with a
a
Jeep.
Jeep facade.
Yeah.
I got to tell you,
Like-
I'm looking
like
at
the one that's
how
behind
this
the shop.
Stop it. All right. I'm looking at this, and I really like how this plays out, how this looks. But I think it's interesting to say that we then Jeffrey was like just a face. He wasn't actually on the podcast, and we were like quietly slipping
more just
pieces
a
of
voice.
paper.
Yeah.
No, you weren't even a voice.
you're
at
right.
You were an
You're
arm.
right.
You were
You were
just
an
like
arm.
an arm, a piece of
Yes.
paper
Yep.
that entered the screen ever so lightly.
Yeah.
And then eventually, somewhere around season 2, you become a voice.
Yep.
Yes.
And then
The slow integration of Jeffrey.
and that slow integration of Jeffrey into the mix, and then we really enjoyed Jeffrey's kind of what he brought to the table. So it was like, hey, let's bring him on, and then how do we bring guests as well?
Yeah.
And now this studio space is set up that we definitely could fit comfortably a guest or two.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So here's the significance of the couches. The couches actually have tremendous significance to me, and it's valuable that they exist here in this personal space that then that you, the listener and viewer, allows us to come into your home space and your headspace. And that's an impactful piece for me. So the couch that Scott is sitting on
Very fitting.
is not actually a couch at all.
I'm in the back seat of a Wagoneer or a Cherokee.
I love it.
So this is a piece that
There's a restorer out there somewhere hating us right now.
oh yeah, he hasn't found us, but
No.
once he does, he's going to
Yeah.
blow us
Hate
up on a
mail.
full size. This was a Cherokee Chief back seat,
Yep.
and
It's primo.
it was in beautiful, perfect condition. And,
And they weren't cool then.
they weren't that cool. And so I was at a show out in York, Pennsylvania, and I had been doing
Always a good full size turnout there.
always a fantastic full size Jeep turnout out in PA All Breeds was the name of the show. It was then hosted at York, Pennsylvania, now hosted at Carlisle by PA Jeeps, the club PA Jeeps. And we were working at this show out there, and I honestly think it was myself and my sister, and we might have had somebody else with us from church or something, and we'd done this show for a couple of years. And in pulled this individual, and I want to say they were in like just a regular grandma's SUV and a U-Haul container.
That's also, classic for that show.
And right. And this person had driven up from Washington, D.C. They're not that far, maybe 2.5 hours. But this individual was the first time they had ever done a Jeep show, and they were so lost, so just fully lost.
I remember those days.
And they didn't know what to expect. They didn't know how to set up. This guy, I identified with him because he was passionate. He had a dream, and he had bought a number of Cherokee Chiefs, and he was a Cherokee Chief guy, and he was there to sell all of his extra parts from his
so he could move
resto,
it in his garage again.
so he could move in his little garage in Washington D.C. In fact, this Cherokee Chief that he restored was actually just actively parked on the streets of
Yes.
Washington D.C.
And
because
that's important, people.
because his wife parked in the driveway of
Yes.
their one-bay garage little
Yes.
house, and this beautifully restored Cherokee Chief just lived on the streets of D.C.
I hear it all the time. I can't do this for blah. I know more cool cars built. I know one guy. He literally, all of his stuff had to be on wheels, and he took the cars out of the garage while he worked. They went over. He worked, and everything got put away, and the cars went back in the garage at night.
Absolutely.
It's just
And
you do what you gotta do.
You do what you have to do, and I identify with that.
You just gotta be hungry.
You got to be super hungry. And Sean is the name of the individual. He and his wife, lovely couple. He was hungry. He did this Jeep resto. He got it done. So he's at this show. He's hopelessly lost.
Yep.
We end up befriending him enough to help him display stuff, pull it out of his trailer, get it priced.
You just couldn't help yourself.
And well, no. he feels a level of indebted nature to us. So the next day, he and his wife staying in a hotel because, again, they're not out there grinding to try and make $1. They're out there just to free up space in the garage, right? They're staying in a hotel. They run past Dunkin' Donuts. They buy us as a business and a family donuts and coffee because they're so appreciative that we're just decent to them because we're in a swap meet, right? And some of those people are not so decent to them.
Yeah,
a little
be
more
nicer to
ruthless.
people.
You got to be nicer to people, right?
Yeah.
And people, for whatever reason, feel competitive in the swap meet.
Yeah.
I don't. We're all out
in the
here.
trenches together.
We're all in the trenches together.
Yep.
So Sean, brings us coffee and donuts, and he's super appreciative, and we just have a really nice time. At the end of that show, and this has got to be around 2013, 2014.
Now the panic sets in. What am I going to do with all this stuff?
What am I
going to
do with this stuff? And I don't want to take it home. And I was enamored by this color palette because this was like a 1 year only specific color palette.
Flame now.
So what is a color palette for the listeners?
So for our listeners, it is a beautiful, it looks like brown leather, like a treated brown leather. It's vinyl.
It's vinyl.
I was gonna say that
has-
doesn't look like leather to me. That looks like vinyl. To
Like
me.
like
Okay.
what the
He's a
material
YJ
is not.
guy. You got to appreciate.
Oh my goodness! It's a color. I'm talking about brown leather as a color.
So the cool part is even
Got
though
these beautiful.
Okay, I'll give you the color.
Thank you. It's got these
even though
beautiful vertical stripes.
even though it's all vinyl, they set these seats up so that the outside edge was always vinyl,
Yes,
and then there's a little piping, and then the center insert could be cloth on some,
it could have been.
and on this one it is more vinyl
It's more vinyl.
and a really cool.
Well, it was the 70s, so
like 2 different shades of brown with a orange, and obviously it's a little faded from
Well,
age.
and if you're a Cherokee
It's-
Chief guy,
It
you
looks
know
like
that.
it looks like the furniture from the 70s
Yeah.
that
That's
you'd find
true.
in a trailer.
Well, if you're a Cherokee Chief guy, you know that there was a particular orange
Yes.
and a particular brown that
Yes.
accompanied it, and the color palette of this bench seat is perfect for that.
Yep.
And it's literally it is the bench seat of the rear of a Cherokee Chief.
Yep.
And a Cherokee Chief, if you are unfamiliar, is a 2-door full size. Full size. It would be a Wagoneer or a Grand Wagoneer,
Yep.
but it had this big, beautiful bay window at the back of the,
On the side.
right along the side.
It was their Blazer, their Bronco.
Yeah, and it was typically wide track. I think they were all wide track, right? Or did
2
they have
doors were all wide track,
Right,
to my
2-door.
knowledge.
Yeah, we're all wide tracks.
They have a rando 4-door Cherokee that's a narrow track that looks like a Wagoneer, but it's actually a Cherokee just to throw us off.
They're probably somebody's got it, and you're going produced.
They were
on
more
this
base
date,
models.
And blah blah blah. All right. Anywho, so it's this seat. And so at the end of the day, so at the end of the meet. Now, here's the thing: a little insider secret. My objective was in the beginning, because we sold used parts, Jeep parts at these events. My phrase was always like, "Hey, I'll load it back up on the trailer."
Yeah.
But I was really not out there to buy other parts at market value.
Especially at that time.
At that time, I didn't have the cash to buy parts at market value. Now, if you wanted me to do a buyout, $100,
Yeah.
you clear up my lot, we did a lot of that, or $300 or $500, whatever it was, and then
Yeah.
we got more inventory that way. Sean wanted to give me this whole set, and I thought it was just so beautiful that I was like, I was enamored with it for the weekend, and I was like, dude, I'm not going to buy this set, A, because I don't have anything
To put it in.
or
Yeah.
do with it, and B, like, I'm not interested in giving you money. I want you to make money so that you can reinvest in your project. Eventually, there was another guy who was equally, because it was such a unique color palette and had an appropriate era vehicle, he said, hey, I'll take those seats, and I just want the front buckets. So Sean eventually split up the sets. And so, of course, that restorer out there who's looking to do this vehicle is
Yeah.
now extra mad
Oh,
because
totally.
this was a complete matched, pristine set
Yes.
that is now scattered about the U.S.
Yep.
And he gave us this bench seat, right? And he was
Yes.
just like, hey, I don't want to haul it home.
Yep.
Will you just take this off my hands?
And I'll never forget, it was just like kicking around. We were not doing a good job.
Well,
Nobody was buying it.
Nobody was buying it, but also additionally, when we initially came back, there was this great picture of you and I.
Yep.
The shop is not even a tenth of what it is
Yes.
now.
And 10-ish years ago.
And you and I are seated on that couch,
Yep.
younger looking, with 2 brand new,
Make me
beautiful babies, right?
Yes.
You had your son Aiden and my son Leo.
The
We're-
boys are trying to fall over because they're at that age.
Well, they were at that age. They didn't have a lot
Yeah.
of muscle control, and they were kind of like weeble wobbles, but they did fall down. and it wasn't vertical at that point,
No.
right? It wasn't up in
Greg
the air.
had not touched it yet.
Yeah, Greg hadn't done what Greg does, and so we have this great picture of us in the very, very early years where that was literally what we were kind of sitting on.
Yeah.
After we got done
Which
doing,
was not uncommon for us, just a random sit in car
there was
seats on
car
the floor.
seats on the floor,
Yeah.
lawn chairs, and somewhere after we got done tearing a vehicle apart, or
Yeah, we're tired.
we're tired and we just want to kick back. We're sitting on used Jeep parts.
Yeah.
So we had this great kind of come up with this, but I didn't want to let it go because I saw it as like a piece of auto art, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece. It actually looks like a love seat. So Greg joins us,
Yes.
and I
And he's
convey this to
insulted
him.
by your stands too.
Yes, well, he hates any vintage
Yes.
jack stands.
Yeah,
Period.
Yeah, not here for it.
No, and I have these.
These jack stands look like they've been welded together a few times at this point.
Shh. Well, they're not under a vehicle anymore. If
Yeah,
that
it's
makes
fine.
you happy.
It does. But I'm
So-
with Greg on why he didn't like
It
those.
made him happy as well to get him rid
So
of
I mean,
them.
these jack stands got to be from the '60s, the
Oh,
'80s,
easy.
right? And so
Yeah.
they're
This was right after cinder blocks went away.
Oh, geez.
bumper lift jacks where
Yeah.
you could you jack the whole vehicle up on its
Yeah,
steel
you just
bumper,
stuck whatever rando
stuck
spot.
whatever
you had.
random log in
Yeah.
there to be
This
a
was a
jack
come
stand.
up.
So eventually, we use a couple vintage jack stands. This is actually a pair of jack stands my mom picked up for us at a estate auction.
Yeah.
Because she thought they were super cool, a lot of character.
Yep.
And then
Just looked at them from their nice value of what they look like, not for the safety aspect that Greg used them for.
no, right. There's no safety there for her. It was just
We're gonna have Davey get a picture of this with the stands and put it up in the Patreon for our listeners. to
Oh,
see the
absolutely. Our
full setup.
Patreons will definitely get to see that first. That's cool. And then the back is actually, we were working with a business called trailtubes.com in the early years. And the back legs were actual structural tubing that they had bent up.
Yes.
And Greg, our lead
DOM.
performance mechanic, it's actual DOM. We're making stingers and roll cages out
To
of.
offset the weak front legs.
The jack stands. And he welded all this together to the original frame and made this
Yeah.
really beautiful piece of
And if
auto
you
art.
haven't flamed us now, full size guy, no, you really did.
Oh yeah, now you're super upset with us.
Yeah.
So we have this really cool piece that has been around. It's got great history with us. It's Art Deco.
If you've been lucky enough to be a customer, you might have sat in the
You
showroom.
might have sat in the showroom. As we, one of the things that we've been doing is working to install a bathroom. Go figure for the
Craziness.
public. So taking up some of our showroom will be dedicated to that. And so it was an opportunity. I saw an opportunity, and I took it by moving it to our showroom, or from our showroom to the podcast studio. Equally, to offset it, the couch that Jeffrey and I are currently sitting on, which is Grandma's couch
and
for our listeners.
Before you get into that couch, I just want to catch up on some of the comments.
Sure.
Because obviously we want you guys to participate, so we want to recognize when you're commenting. Chuck was saying he likes the new setup.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck.
Joe saying good morning and hello from Oak Island, North Carolina, in position for sand, beer, and fireworks.
Amen.
What a place to be.
Yep.
Patrick Shepard, I remember the early days in Old Blue.
Yep.
Yep. You
Patrick.
might have wedged him in there too.
Yep, absolutely.
Chuck is saying should make a table out of an axle crate. And actually, Chuck, my wife suggested the same thing, and I told her, shh, don't say it out loud. So thanks, because now Neil's going to make me do that.
100%. Our resident carpenter.
Yes.
Lee, got to watch those swap meet folks.
Here's looking at you, Lee.
Met the nicest people at swap meets.
That's right. That's right.
And then TJ saying good morning, late arrival.
Hey, TJ.
And Chuck, Neil's retinas aren't being melted by that light anymore.
Exactly what the issue, right? The light is better for all of us.
We're going to get more lights. We're going to melt his retinas.
We
still.
are
Don't
going to
worry
get a little
about
more
that.
lights, brighten it up a little bit, but I do really like it, and we'll figure out for you, because it's much more natural when you get to kind of sit back on the couch, and obviously the computer, we'll figure out that distance.
Well, once we get the monitor set up, I could probably get like
and
a
the
Bluetooth
mics
keyboard or
and-
something set up.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
This
get
is
figured out.
rendition number 1. So the couch that Jeffrey and I are sitting on, which if you're listening to us, we're kind of shape of like a V or an L. You're looking in at the the vantage point is into the V itself, and somebody said we needed a coffee table. No, thank you.
So the table that's in front of us, I actually cut down literally this morning before we started recording.
He's giving up secrets.
to make it a
Giving
little
up
bit
secrets.
shorter.
This was literally the table that we've been sitting at for months now, and
It was bar height,
it was bar height, and
it is now
Jeff
about
came
table
in
height.
and lopped off the legs this morning. I don't think it looks bad by any means, but we're getting
It needs to be a little bit shorter. But
So Scott
the
needs
crate,
a recliner, somebody said, and
Oh.
that's, if you only knew that Scott literally is so old that he has his own
feel like-
recliner at his house. He and his wife have
She
their
hates
their
it.
seats.
It looks
And
so bad.
Scott's got his old man recliner that,
Yeah.
oh, don't mess with Daddy when he's napping in his, what do you call it?
She tried to make me replace it this year, and we went around and I refused like 150 recliners because they weren't comfy enough.
You're the oldest
they're not comfy enough
not
because you
even
haven't broken it
40-year-old
in yet. You
that
gotta
I know.
you find one that's comfy.
What do you call your chair?
I don't know.
He has said some super old terms
he
before.
absolutely has.
I'm gonna wait for him to naturally slip up on it, but I don't remember what they call it. But it's old. It's an old term for a lazy boy or
The
something.
problem is if we put him in a recliner, he would nap.
He would take a kneel
Involuntarily.
nap. Yeah, I was gonna say we'd take a kneel nap
We'd
involuntarily.
be like
close his
talking
eyes.
about something, and then be like, "What do you think about that, Scott? Scott, wake up!
Scott, come back, man. So
It's really hard to find a comfy one.
What's that noise over there? It's just Scott snoring.
all right.
Lies.
So here's the thing: the couch that Jeffrey and I are sitting on has been in my possession for a little over a decade now, and it's so funny, but this darn love seat means a lot to me. And so the story goes that my dad was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in it would have been coming out of the late 60s into the early 70s, and at that time type 1 diabetes was arguably a death sentence. My grandmother, who was a phenomenal environmentalist and just a passionate, strong-natured woman, ensured that he went to the Cleveland Clinic for treatment. And so as he went off to college, he develops type 1 diabetes. And she makes sure that her son survives at a time where a lot of other people are having to lose body parts, limbs to try and sustain their quality of life. My dad got to keep all of his limbs. He goes off to the Cleveland Clinic, starts getting treatment, so on and so forth. As he graduates college, and right before he marries my mother, he takes a teaching position here in his hometown. And at that time, in the early to mid 70s, a teacher salary was $7,000. So the whole year, $7,000. And I identify with this because when I went, serendipitously so, when I went full time, I went from making a normal wage that a person in a leadership corporate America should make to the first year selling used parts and hustling around. I made $7,000. So this number kind of regurgitates and stays relevant to me. And that was, you're talking 2012, right?
Yeah.
So selling used parts, it was nothing.
$7,000 in a year as being a family.
It does not get the job done.
That doesn't
right?
get the job done.
Doesn't get the job done. So in the early 70s, $7,000 was probably pretty good money for him. But as a person who's just getting out of college and that's all you make, so I get it, right? But for him, one of the first things he did when he made his career choice and made his money was he bought my grandmother this couch. And so the particular couch that we're sitting on is, 55, 60 years old. And this was at a time where you did not get rid of stuff. It was purchased to be a quality piece, and it had been recovered 3 times, like reupholstered 3 times. And
I was going to say the upholstery on this is amazing for being that old.
Yeah,
so that makes more sense.
Yeah, and so my grandmother was she was an LL Bean, Ethan Allen, Columbia, Simpson family Jeeps, and that's one of the things that actually, when I talk about integrity and a quality product, I find that I take a lot of leadership from my grandmother and my grandfather to say that they weren't going to have a lot of things, but what they were going to have was going to be made of quality. And so when SFJ produces things, we're going to produce things of quality. And the couch is a constant reminder of hard work and sacrifice, and then the idea that quality investments pay off. And so
100%.
I'd like to keep this couch as nice as humanly possible. It will have a lifespan. I recognize that. But to this point, 50, 60 years and the couch is going strong. Grandma would reupholster it. She would modernize the color of it, got off that scratchy
Scott,
70s.
He said this is modernized.
Blue fabric.
I mean,
So I think
this
this
is
was
when every
recovered.
room was, that pea green color in the house.
So I think that this was actually done in the late 90s, early 2000s with this upholstery on it.
Nope.
Yep.
This was late
So-
80s, early 90s?
No.
No,
So
my
she had-
godparents totally had furniture that color.
Oh my gracious!
Yeah,
This matched a lot of her. She was
This
very
was
much.
not the late
she had a green
1900s.
thumb. She had a green thumb, and
It's very
so yeah, she liked
with
it.
little flowers.
Yeah. So definitely a contrast to our space, but it's a
Yes.
fun contrast. And that is the very specific and intentional reason why it is deliberately, awkwardly contrasting our space.
Yep.
So a little bit about why our studio is set up, both a functional and a nostalgic reasoning. And I thank you guys for pulling this together in a manner that I did not see coming. I thought we were going to come in and we were going to be tripping over stuff
Listen,
and squeezing into
you
the
packed
table.
the couches in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
We had no option.
Yeah, we had no.
Shoot.
We couldn't access our
Adapt and
studio table.
overcome. Adapt and overcome.
I did empower him just to have you sit on top of the couch today.
Just sit on the back of it.
We debated different
Awkwardly
options.
goosing me the whole time.
100%.
Are we talking like this?
I told him Saturday, I was like, I'm going to probably come in this weekend at some point to just try to figure this out. I didn't. I waited till this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, why didn't you come in this weekend? Because we were kind of tired and we were riding a wave of something that happened this weekend.
Well, lots of things happened this
All right.
weekend.
Well, what did happen then? What happened personally and professionally for either of you?
I mean, we already talked about the parade.
Well, we can talk more about it.
We're
but go
going to
ahead.
talk more about
Yeah,
the
go
parade.
ahead.
Scott, we talked about the parade. There was
We're
people.
done.
There was Jeeps. We're done.
Yep.
You know
It's
what?
over.
This is the thing. And you know what? Fine.
There's
I'm going to take
a chance of rain.
You threw up the ball. I'm going to take it. And this is one of the challenges that I was explaining. Again, a little bit of the man behind the mask of Wizard of Oz here, or man behind the curtain. We've been doing parades authentically. I have been doing 4th of July parade off and on since 2007.
Yep.
In 7, my cousin was working for a local Jeep dealership. We actually, for the brand new JKU, we borrowed a brand new JKU and put it in the parade with us. But then professionally, we have been doing, and we did the parade. It was lovely. There was only like 5 Jeeps in it. Then I move away. We move on to other things in life.
Yep.
We, minorly participate in it from that 07 date. I think we started up again 4 or 5 years later. We have literally been doing these parades for 11 years.
Yep.
So a little bit of the challenge is that as people become new to the Jeep community, which is this spectacularly supportive, fun, the Jeep becomes an extension of the owner. I get to use it. It makes people happy. I get to meet other people with it. We do club events. We do off-roading. It takes me on these adventures.
Yeah,
all these
it's not
things.
just a vehicle.
It's not just a vehicle.
It's a way of life.
You're absolutely right. The thing is, they become excited and enthusiastic. And I appreciate that. I don't ever want to lose focus of that. But a little bit of the majesty wanes for us after 11 years of doing parades, 11
know
years
what's
of
gonna
doing
happen.
shows, 11 years of setting up beforehand and tearing down after, and so on and so forth.
I will say, even with that, I think we were all surprised at the turnout for this one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so that's the thing. It's,
Every year it's
we're
better.
not. Every year it gets better, and it's not to depreciate our experience.
Every time I get nervous, like, when is it going to be the breaking point?
And it never is, right? It just gets better, and that's
Yeah.
what
Kristen
that's
literally
what's
said to me
fantastic
after this.
for us.
She said after this one, she's like, "You guys may have to find a bigger parking lot to meet in if it
Yeah.
continues to grow."
I think I can keep shoving them in.
I
was
know
trying
we
to park
can.
them in tight. You
I
know what I
we-
mean?
We've still
At
got the
people's-
side yard too.
We got
but
side yard, and so years ago we did an open house, and we were parking people on the south lawn and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We can
we'll
figure
stop
it out.
around like
We'll-
it's a presidential suite or
Right.
something.
well, my office is adjacent to the south lawn, folks. The humor in that, if you're listening, you haven't met us, you don't even know. Spartan is the word that I use to describe our facility. People who encounter us through sfj4x4.com or the YouTube videos or whatever, and they don't expect the curb appeal that we do or don't have when they actually show up. And
you,
they're
have
like,
you have to personally come and see what we have or don't have.
yeah, we build really gnarly Jeeps, and we build them darn well.
We focus on the Jeeps.
And the
the
people.
rest of it's just, and the people.
We focus on the people and the Jeeps.
I've
That's what
rest
matters.
of it's
yet
there.
to have anybody actually come and visit us not be happy that they did.
Right.
Correct.
That's exactly right. So parking Jeeps and whatnot. The thing is, I always think it's interesting is that you get people who go through natural waves in their life, and they get a Jeep, and they're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years in, and they're very, very excited. Their enthusiasm is contagious, and I appreciate that. But for us, we're like, it's year 11 or 13 or whatever, doing
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z activity. We know what's going to happen, like you
Yeah.
said. I think what's great is just seeing it gets better every year, no matter what, and that's
100%.
super cool. That level of energy is reflected in the enthusiasm
and we
of
need
these
those.
new
They
participants.
Help us along,
Yes.
the ones that are going 100 miles an hour didn't have time for 4th of July
and
decorations.
that's exactly it, right? I mean, we don't have time, and you know, I love people are out there
That's why I have
shining
a
up
blue
their.
Jeep, Scott, so I don't have to decorate it. I'm just.
Oh, you be quiet,
I'm the
Mr.
blue and the red,
blow
white,
up.
blue.
You were the blue
Christmas stuff.
in the blue. In the red, white, and blue. And you know what? Big credit to Freedom Crawlers Club. They actually had looked at our array of vehicles last year and had suggested that. And, you know, we managed to kind of do it impromptu. An important piece of how we always do parades. It's just my little thing.
His impromptu was him calling me 10
No,
minutes
no, no.
before the event,
That
5 minutes before the event. You need to get here. I need to get you staged for the red, white, blue.
Well, that was this year. Last year it was impromptu.
Yeah.
This year I had kind of a
He did have a
brief-
plan this year.
I had a plan.
He had a plan.
And that's why we didn't know, because of some of the family stuff that was happening for you. We did not know if that plan was going to be achievable or
Right.
not.
Yeah.
And that's the piece.
Where are you at? I'm at Conneaut Beach. Okay. How far out are you? I'm
Well,
still at Conneaut Beach.
Well, and then the Jeeps just kept coming into
Yes.
the parking lot, and I'm going, okay, well, I want to get people organized, because I just think front loading the experience helps people have a better, you know, when we do a parade, I want to communicate as much as possible I can. You know, so I do a driver's meeting, but 15 minutes before I try to make that announcement. We try to make it hospitable for the people participating.
Totally.
To the
And
best
when
of
you
our
can have
ability.
40 vehicles, not get lost.
Not get lost, not get grumpy,
Yes.
not
I mean,
get turned around. And
I grew up in classic
rear-ending
cars,
vehicles.
and that's impossible with 5 vehicles.
with 5 vehicles.
So the fact that we got 40 vehicles from our facility to the staging road, all in the parade
down
together.
the parade, follow the parade route, and
Yeah.
and then over to photo shoot.
over to the photo
Yes.
shoot opportunity, and some of the vlog and videography
The
experience.
only thing I was disappointed, every year we always pick up a rando Jeep along
Yes.
the way.
Yeah,
I didn't see any of those.
We
this
did.
year.
I think we did.
We did.
Well, sort of.
No, we did.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
We picked up a gray Jeep with halos.
Yes.
They were not in the parade with us.
Mint.
Correct.
They just came in off of like Lake Road, and they were like, well, we're going to park with the Jeep people. Because like my parents later on were like, it was so nice, but they just stayed in their Jeep the whole time.
They were
Yeah, they
awkward.
stayed in the Jeep because they were
What
wedding
was going
crashers.
on?
It was awesome. Good for you.
You should come over and say
You
hi
see
next
Jeeps
time.
and you just jumped in.
Yes.
Have at it. I'm here for it. So the thing is, we try to make it as hospitable as possible. It was a good experience. Hopefully for the participants. I was explaining. It irritates my dad. He wants me to be at the front of the parade route every
that's his
single
spot.
year.
No, that's
and
definitely
I
his spot.
refuse.
Yeah,
I
we're-
have refused from
We're
the
the
very
back of
beginning.
the bus kind of guys.
I will always be the tail gunner, and that is just
I think that's appropriate.
and I try to share with my kids, and if you don't know me, this is a little secret look in on me. I always I was a competitive athlete when I was
He's
younger.
saying he doesn't want to lead from the front.
I was a
he likes to
offensive lineman.
see all the Jeeps in front of him.
I like to see it, and I value the tail gunner's position on a trail because they are the person who makes sure nobody gets left behind.
Yep.
That is the goal. And if
no,
for some
he
reason
just wants
a
to be
group-
at the back of the group so he can horse around on the Jeep as he's
Well,
going
that's
through the
also
parade.
true.
I do absolutely hammer on Chuck Norris in the back
Little
of the
4
parade.
liters going, help! Help!
I'm hammering the red
The
line.
chicken scared.
The president, the president of Freedom Crawlers, has a Hemi, and I'm trying to egg him
Yeah.
on to let
there was
that
no
thing.
Hemi revving.
There was no Hemi
You know,
revving, but I was redlining the 4-0. I
Honestly,
was
though-
letting all the Eagles out.
I understand why he wasn't, especially in this parade. The kids were ruthless with coming out into the road.
Oh my
They
god.
were
It was-
parents. Please keep your children at a safe distance from the 4,000-pound death machine.
I honestly was panicking going through the parade because of recent
Yeah.
life events, and I'm going, just please keep the kids off the road at this point.
Well, and here's the other thing about Chuck Norris, and I think this is the coolest piece. Other people may be lost on them, but usually people think it's fun. Is I like to torque load that slinky suspension that Chuck Norris has, so
Yeah,
you kind of
so it's-
power brake it. And Chuck just rises up like 4 inches and then like pops back down. And it looks a little out of control. It looks a little fun, depending on what your perspective is.
It's only got 120 horsepower.
Oh.
It's nothing happening.
Oh,
there.
it's nothing that special by any stretch of the imagination. And of course, it's locked in the rear. It's got a grizzly locker. So if I do the ever so slightest straight breakaway on the tires or a little bit of a turn, I'll squawk the tires in their 40s, and so
Yeah.
they
And
make
suddenly
a
he's in
nice
high
noise.
school again.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So it sounds and looks way cooler than it actually is, folks.
We got a bunch of comments coming in again. Daddy Jeep saying I'm late, but I love the new setup.
Thank you, Rob.
Tracy is saying awesome job, thank you. We got so many compliments along the parade route saying we all make the parade.
Yes, it was. The community really looks forward to it at this
Yeah.
point.
And Chip is saying my son had so much fun. He wants to bring their Compass to the Christmas parade.
Bring it,
Definitely.
bring it.
And then Darla, maybe next year it'll be 100 Jeeps.
I'm 100 Jeeps. That
Let's
is
do
what's
it.
on.
That's
It
the
is
goal.
100 Jeeps. That's the goal. We'll do 100 Jeeps.
If we get 100 Jeeps, then you have to go through and find the SFJ Jeeps because it'll just be a sea of Jeeps. You
yeah, it'll be fantastic. It'll be
'cause
perfect. They're all
already,
SFJ Jeeps.
People
now.
are already losing us in the crowd.
Oh yeah, the actual employees and whatnot.
So
Yeah.
then you got to actually search us out at that.
No,
point.
100 is the goal, right? And my wife said everybody's going to be back to our new house for hot dogs and a campfire. That's what
Yes.
she said our goal is next year. Anybody who wants to then join us from instead of going out to like a restaurant or something like that we're going to have a campfire and we'll grill out hot dogs and I
So
got
we're gonna fill your front yard.
fill the yard with Jeeps.
Sounds like a
that was
great
her.
time.
That was 100%. That was our hard goal for our house. Will be that 4th of July celebration with our Jeep family, which it was
Speaking of the
kudos to
house,
her.
Any updates on the house?
Well, I don't know if we're done with parade, but maybe we'll circle back. Not really. So because ultimately the house, there's only so much time, energy, and effort, and the reality of our situation.
Summer is so busy.
Oh, hold
Summer is
on.
so busy.
Chip says you don't lose Scott. Scott hides.
Well, maybe.
That's what I heard. It'll be like, "Where's Waldo?" Folks. It'll be like, "Where's the mad
I reverted
scientist?"
back to my high school days where I just find a dark corner and I observe.
It was. He's very much there. That is just truly Scott. He does not want the limelight.
I
but
heard
if you corner him, he'll talk your ear off. He'll talk Jeeps. He'll talk vehicles. He'll be your best friend.
I heard
but
from
you have to find him.
several people saying they didn't even see Scott. They saw his wife. They didn't see him. I'm like, you were standing next to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incognito JK.
Yeah, that's why it's the color and the
Yes.
nature. I mean, he's literally dressed like his Jeep today, folks.
I am.
He is.
Who can't see it?
Can't get any more green on
We
me.
You
can't see
get
Scott
more
over there.
green.
He's in
camo.
camouflage.
Yeah.
He's over there somewhere. We're not sure where.
Yes, just a voice in the distance.
Daddy Jeep is saying sweet party at the Simpsons, so I think maybe he'll be coming up for the parade next year
Yeah,
too.
that would be
Yeah.
wonderful. Trailer it out, and we'll sort out where those 100 Jeeps are going to go. I am here 100% for it. That's not a concern whatsoever. There was one question whether or not we had pre-COVID if we had more Jeeps at a Christmas parade. I think we did. EJP came out years ago. And so this kind of goes into that. We've been doing this 11 years. I'd like to recognize this year was a
Wow. Scott's getting to you. Scott's getting to you.
Wow.
This was Freedom Crawlers bringing everybody.
This was
year.
Freedom Crawlers
Yeah.
showing up in big accord. But in the past, we have had significant support from Erie Jeep people
Elcor.
and Elcor
Yep.
specifically. Now, there was a Steel City Crawlers years ago. They or Steel Valley. I know they had brought up 2 or 3, and previous 4th of July, some folks came up out of the Akron area and represented. I just think that would be really a spectacular affair if we could get those clubs, all of those local or regional clubs,
Yeah.
to send a couple people, and we'll make sure we return in good cause the exposure and the hospitality for those people participating. We're excited that. I think DSO has come out and participated in a
100%.
capacity before, so we really love to see and build that experience. The house itself, I say we have our Meadville property we're trying to have up for sale. So the past couple weeks, and a big shout out to the Savage who's actually come down and helped me, and one of our customers and friends, Jason, who's just unrelenting and
Yeah, he was
and
hiding
trying.
in the side with me.
He was.
The
He
Green
was
Jeeps
here.
unite.
The Green Jeeps unite, and he made sure to come out and support. But he loves to be involved with us, and he's been helping with both properties. And so the goal is to have the Pennsylvania property up on the market and sold in July. And so that's going to help springboard us further on the house build. Other than that, my wife's secret garden was our big push or endeavor She's a voracious gardener. If you were listening before, she got the quote unquote 10 tons of dirt for Mother's Day. We've been both enjoying and trying to ward off the wildlife that, we're breaking ground. If you're not familiar, if you're just joining us, my wife and I are endeavoring into all things challenging because we can't it's the Simpson way. This is the way. And so we broke ground on a parcel of 10 acres that had never had any structure, no perk test, no plumbing, no anything.
It hadn't actually been grown on in a multitude of years as top of that.
No, correct. It was a hayfield.
Yes.
Turned, derelict field for a decade or so.
Yep.
And so we broke ground clearing out, trees and bushes and grass and leveling and all that kind of stuff. And we're doing it without seeking any traditional mortgage or financing.
Yep.
And we're doing it largely with our own two hands and the help of our friends and family. So that's a nutshell in what we're doing. And there was a derelict trailer that was brought in that was then torn down and rebuilt. And so we still own this beautiful home and property in Pennsylvania that needs to go on the market and make somebody else happy while we build this dream over here together.
Yep.
So that was what's going on and kind of ties into the parade. And I don't know if I'm done talking about the parade, but I'm here for updates and other aspects. Because really, that's all we were doing today to celebrate the 4th, was talk about friends and family and forward progress in our lives and in the Jeep community.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what else do we have? I see that you're going into business, Scott, selling vintage Ford body panels. And as an entrepreneur, I cannot be more excited and try to figure out how can I get in on this, right?
And it's so funny. I hope this doesn't change, because right now it's still so much fun for me to and it was funny. Somebody came up to me and they handed me this box and a sheet of metal and said, "Can you make this?" Or actually, it was Bob set it all up, and he has all the confidence in me, and I appreciate it so much. He's like, "You can make this, but you don't have to worry about all this extra stuff." And I was like, "You just made me do it all."
Worry about all of that. Challenge accepted.
Yes.
Do you know where I work?
Right.
Right.
Now I have to put.
I have to put all these compound bends and specialty pieces.
And it's how they were made. I'm sure it just was.
What was made?
This little. It's basically a map pocket, I believe. I gotta,
map pocket.
I gotta find out
those
where it
of
goes.
you who grew up. Like the Savage, who grew up in a time where maps didn't even exist.
That's true.
Maps were this
piece of paper.
And in our vintage vehicles, we actually used to have like a
it's
door fold.
That's what fights were caused by on trips.
Well, that's because the navigator had put the map down.
Yes.
No, because they folded the map instead of rolling it.
I wish I had $1 for every time I passed the exit. Because the map person was not...
my wife zoned out and decided to take a nap, despite the fact that she's
that's
claiming
your family,
that she wasn't going to nap.
I couldn't trust my navigator, so I would
drive.
Literally map the route out ahead of time and try to remember the turns.
See, we would still try to do this bonding experience where they would have that process from MapQuest.
Oh, MapQuest.
No.
Those of you who are listening.
I was reading maps while driving before you could text on a cell phone and drive. So.
Listen.
Fine.
You know what? My wife is actually a great navigator. I ran McNally. Was a beautiful piece. It was actually an exciting gift that we would get, was an updated Rand McNally large map, and we used to highlight. We actually had a big...
Oh, yeah, you were all about it.
We were all about it. This was our Rand McNally,
yes.
and we highlighted our routes that we had traveled all over the U.S. prior to having kids, obviously.
Yes.
Because that changes everything.
That really put the brakes on things.
It puts the brakes on that travel experience, right?
Dale's saying the maps that you could never get folded back up correctly.
Oh, yes.
No, you just wadded those back up.
Yeah,
and
stuffed them in there.
You went to the next rest area and got another one.
Hope the crease wasn't on the road.
I remember my dad.
The crease was worn out, and now the roads were convoluted.
My dad was so excited to go to a rest area and get a free map.
You know what the worst thing is? Here's the piece, and we could actually talk
we
maps.
all were at that time.
We were. And the worst thing is, we were, when this company started full time, we were still using maps to get to shows.
Yes.
That's just something in the last 10 years where the GPS is fully responsible
Yes.
for our travel.
Yep.
We were still using Rand McNally's, and my sister mapped out a route to a show in eastern Pennsylvania that just had a little bit of zigzags, but it was only this far, right?
Yeah.
And for our listeners, I'm holding up, maybe an inch.
Yes.
But it was only this
I
far.
remember all the time. Like, oh, it's not that
It's
far.
only an inch.
5 hours later.
It was up a
An
switchback.
inch was 10 miles
It
or
was
100
up
miles,
a
depending on the
switchback
map.
of Iggy Back Mountain, where I had to put. We had a full 30-foot enclosed trailer. I had my 1-ton Ram. I had to put the darn thing in low-range 4-wheel drive and go, 15 miles an hour up this vertical climb of a switchback
fine.
mountain,
That's
pulling
how
a
stories were
10,000 plus
made.
trailer. That's right. That's how stories were made, man.
But any
That's
which
how
way.
they were made.
Chris and my wife saying, I still collect maps when we road trip because you never know when you're going to need one. And I know
true.
that's a shocker, but if you actually travel some of the real
rural,
out there,
really
the
rural,
yeah.
undeveloped areas.
you might not have cell service.
You know what? You get west of the Mississippi, it's a very different experience. Truly, genuinely, for people who have grown up and really not gotten out of the New England, the Midwest, the Great Lakes, up and down the East Coast, realistically, there is lots of dense, deep, rural, undeveloped areas of
Yes.
America still, and you can still
100%.
find it in the Appalachian
It's always
Mountain
fun to have
Range
the-
in
you
Pennsylvania to
have
the
the
West
old
Virginia.
school GPS at this point, which just makes me sad. And it's just this little line, and it's green all around you.
I remember
when you
buying
get-
that on your honeymoon.
Yes.
I was there.
I was so
mean,
mad-
I wasn't on your
I
honeymoon.
was so
but
mad at the map at that point. I was like, I'm doing it.
You did it on your honeymoon.
Spending
I
the
remember
$400
when you did
it was so
that was
expensive.
it was big money.
It was.
You were ahead of the curve because I
Yes.
wasn't buying a GPS at
No.
the moment. I was still working off of Verizon maps on my little flip phone that
Yeah.
would get me, 3
It was like
miles.
this little
tops.
jagged pixelated
Yes.
picture.
Yes.
Well, before even going to that, MapQuest.
And
That's why I brought it up.
that's why you brought it up. You'd print out your map and then things would be wrong.
I'll tell you one better.
Still miss the exit.
AAA triptychs.
So
Oh.
Ken literally just in the comments said that the AAA triptychs were
Right.
the best.
It had the little
Wow.
flippers. You had just kept flipping the page.
Yes.
My dad would every time we'd go out of town, we'd have to make the week before go up to AAA.
Go to the AAA office.
Yes. Where are you going?
Do you remember
Going
you
here.
could get your money orders, or you could change your currency?
Yeah, I
into a
never
card
got
or
that
something?
far.
Cashier checks. That's
Yeah.
what it was. You would get your cashier's
We,
checks.
we did them for going to Columbus just to show how did we out. We didn't
did or
travel.
didn't?
We did.
You got cashier's checks.
No,
to
no,
go
no,
to,
no. The triptychs.
You got triptychs.
to go to
God
Columbus.
love Fred. He also had a spare tire, a serpentine belt,
Fuel
two
pump.
pulleys,
Fuel pump.
fuel pump, and a set of points.
Oh
And-
no, it's electronic at that point.
Oh, he had
Wow.
done.
He
Oh, he
pushed
done
the
electronic.
envelope.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was a trendsetter in the automotive industry. That's true.
We never had to actually use it for our own vehicle.
That's
There's always
okay.
the friends that needed those parts. But
Okay.
any
Okay.
which way.
So we went on this tirade. We started on map pockets.
Yes.
On your personal professional endeavor
Yep.
in the metalworking world.
So any which way, he has a 33 and a 34 Ford truck, and I got to find out where in the world this pocket goes in this thing because those cabs are tiny. Like I don't
Yeah.
know that Neil would fit in it.
No, I love those trucks, and I love the the Willys
Yes.
pickup trucks,
Yes.
and I just can't own
The ca-
one.
I can't. Me and Jeff could not sit in that truck shoulder to shoulder.
No.
They're so tiny.
No, and I they're so beautiful. The
Yes.
lines, the character.
Yep.
And I fit. I make myself fit in flat fenders. I
Yes.
get that,
Yeah,
but,
but you don't have doors or roofs.
that's right.
Yes.
The doors and roof is what
That
does
makes a
Yes.
big difference.
Big difference. But anyway, which way? He's like, can you make this? Like, definitely. So first thing I did is make a template. Hell out of
it.
cardboard. CAD.
Cardboard.
Found out the shear will cut cardboard. Was super excited.
Wow. Okay.
Gotta tell you, my
You're
scissor
loving that
game.
new shear.
My
Yes.
scissor game is not very good, and it was like this uphill.
Color me
big,
surprised. That your
big,
scissor
big
game's not
problem.
good.
So I put it in the shear, straightened up all the sides,
Yeah.
and made one, and then made it out of steel. And I was like, there's enough for 2 more of these at least out of this piece of steel. So
Yeah.
at this point, I have one done, one almost done, and one in process.
Yes.
Says I kind of want one now, even though I don't. My wife's like, "What are you gonna do with it?" I don't know.
I don't know.
It's cool. It's a metal box. It will cut you when you get your map out of it.
Right. Well, we were tougher back
Yes.
then, right?
The dash will
You were supposed to get out
blatantly
and
take
you,
your nose
you were
off.
supposed to adjust your valves before you went to the
Yes.
grocery store as well.
Yes.
And I challenge anybody, who's a driver right now to know where their valves are even at.
Your owner's manual told you how.
Yes.
And it was half the size of the new cars.
Yes. Yes, and you had to get your feeler gauges out.
Yes.
You had to go over to your workbench or in your glove box, get your feeler gauges out, move the points in your glove box and get your
Yes.
feeler gauge out.
100%.
What unquestionably a super cool part of American history. What I heard you say was you're not sure where this will go in kind of personally or professionally, right?
Yeah.
Doing some of this metal work, and you hope that you can continue to enjoy it. And I think that's. I want to take a moment and say, when we're building Jeeps. And I talk about the fact that I took my hobby at first and I turned it into a profession.
Yep.
And you and I, as young men, kind of would talk on the phone about doing exactly what we're
100%.
doing. And even on our worst days,
Oh, 100%.
we still go, it's still better than blah, 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 right?
It's better than the best day somewhere else.
Better than the best day somewhere else.
Yep.
The worst days here doing.
And it's good that we pull ourselves back in that. Sometimes we're so focused on the goal. And you just did that to me the other day. I was working on stuff.
We just did it to you this morning with a studio change.
That's true. Anyway, and you're like, you dreamed of doing this full time at one time. And I was like, yep, yeah, I did.
Yep.
And I'm loving it.
Yes, and that's the thing is that. So I mean, hopefully, even as the metalworking progresses, and maybe that'll produce some little bit of side cash or be
Make my wife happy for all that money I'm spending on tools.
on your metalworking tools and whatnot. And maybe it produces something that both is beneficial to you.
Yep.
Much like somebody who has woodworking, or Jeffrey with his audio production, and he had a degree or certification in audio production before he joined us.
Yep.
He had a studio. He was helping out friends and family with events and setting up, but to be recognized as an audio producer, having podcasts under his belt and doing these types of things wasn't. You know what I mean? So to say that we can make a living with something you're passionate or
100%.
and for our listeners, I hope that it becomes either a piece of inspiration or motivation for you if you're toiling away with something you want to achieve. And I think that's part of the SFJ 4x4 difference. When people encounter us and our Spartan offerings as far as the facility and what our priority set is,
It's not the facility.
It's the
It's
attitude.
what you do with it, the attitude.
Yeah, 100%.
without question. And so when we're able to bring the community in and further our experience, not just with other community members at meet and greets or at local restaurants, but then to take our Jeeps as a whole and go make the broader community happy with them.
100%.
Tossing out candy, showing off cool modifications, having blinky lights, having bubbles.
And really, you get down to it, that is what an automotive hobby should be. Doesn't matter if you're in a hot rod or a custom or a jacked up truck or a Jeep. It's not so much about the vehicle. It is, but it isn't. It's about the community that you are part of. It's about the people with the same ideas that get excited, and you're all different walks of life, all different backgrounds. It doesn't matter. You have that common ground with the vehicle.
I gotta take that, and I gotta take that and tie that into 4th of July.
100%.
Because,
I was going to take it and tie it into my personal life currently.
so let me give that to you in 1 second, but I'll just take 20 seconds and say that's what 4th of July does. It is not just the birth, but the rebirth of a common purpose of American patriotism, not owned by any singular political or social group, but together as all people united under this amazing country that we live in and we exist in, and that we should be able to say is our common ground, right?
100%.
And that should be our aspiration. And somebody said, hey, I don't really get behind fireworks. Like, I don't know what the allure is. And I will never, ever, ever get tired of fireworks. Not that I launch them off, and I want them to be shot off.
I'm feeling touched by that comment, though.
What's that?
That they don't understand the allure of
Oh, totally. I know you do. I know. I saw the post, and I recognize that the whole movement of when is an appropriate time or place to launch fireworks.
That I agree.
And-
There are appropriate times and places.
And that's just like conversations with human beings, and there is a appropriate all things in moderation.
Just gotta respect your common man.
And I'm with that, but I saw that they didn't understand the allure, and for me, that it is every time that fireworks explodes, it is that childlike awe and appreciation that draws me back to the fact that in this odd explosion is actually kind of like the awe, the inspiration, the kind of the hope. What color is it going to be? Is it going to be big? Is it going to be little? Is it going to be a giant boom? Is it whatever? That is almost an embodiment of that American experience and what we obviously move into, the American hustle.
Oh, yeah.
Our business entrepreneurship, personal leadership podcast, and then obviously the business here at SFJ 4x4. So your personal life, and you were talking about community as a whole.
So the 4th of July, the Jeep community, everything coming together, like you said, the automotive community, everybody's all under the same umbrella. And for Kristen and I, dealing with the situation that we had to deal with, I talked about last week, Xander, he did have an eye injury, it's a very severe one.
Yes.
We were at the doctor's on Friday, found out, unfortunately, he will never have vision in that eye.
Sure.
As of right now, they are still trying to keep the eye, but it's also very high chance that the eye's going to be gone.
Yes.
And he'll have a prosthetic eye.
So I hate to take this moment from you because it is a somber moment, but then he would be as cool as Rob Morgan.
Oh, absolutely.
Just put it out there, right?
Honestly, he was very excited. We went eye patch shopping on Friday, got him some eye patches. He was super excited about his pirate one.
Yes.
We went and got him protective glasses. He has 20/20 vision in the good eye. And that's could be why he could end up losing the other eye, is because it could start to attack the good eye.
Interesting.
So bacterial infection type stuff.
Interesting.
So, but they want to do everything possible to protect the good eye. So we had to go get him shatter-resistant glasses, non-prescription. And so we did that, picked out some of that stuff. And honestly, we couldn't have afforded to get him glasses if it wasn't for the outpouring of support from the community. Everybody that's been, we had the GoFundMe that was put up by my brother and sister. The Freedom Crawlers did an amazing event in our name.
Yes.
Just all of that is what's helping move these things forward for Xander.
They had a nice little gift basket I think I saw prepared
two.
for you.
Two.
Okay. And two little gift baskets, which was fantastic. They did, they did an activity in his honor and in support of him. Obviously, a thank you to all of the outpouring of support, prayers, thoughts, financial donation to that GoFundMe from people of the Jeep community, the sharing of it onto the far corners of the web.
Oh, yeah. I told Kristen, I said, I know you never wanted Xander to be internet famous, but I think it's too late.
Yeah. Different level of internet famous. And he has such a glowing little approach.
Yes.
He was always incredibly sweet and genuine child as it was. You never want to see anything, like this happen to anybody.
Right.
But he has the disposition to overcome it, right? Whatever challenges may arise. And then he has the community and the loved ones around him that he will fare it to the best of his ability.
Absolutely.
What an interesting situation, because there's a lot of really unfortunate and odd serendipitous experiences, which we've talked about. Some of our own customers and friends who have had eye injuries, who now have prosthetics, who have normalized it.
Yeah.
Your family's interest in all things a little bit of Halloween-y and pirates.
Oh, yeah.
There's just some, not that again, we want this to happen to anybody.
Take a bad situation and make it as best you can.
Bad situation and the best that it can be.
Yeah.
This might be along those lines.
You don't let it shut you down. You don't let it stop you. You just overtap.
And I thought it was interesting. I was in the meeting with a city official recently, and I did not share this on air, but I had to go into a meeting with a city official, and I was prepared with some documentation and some permitting and blah, 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 blah. So I go in all business, and the individual goes, no, put that down. I don't, he shut me down as I started the meeting. He goes, tell me about that little kid. You know what I mean? I was like, this is not necessarily a Jeep owner.
Yeah.
It's somebody who's related to the Jeep community enough, but his priority, his expectation was to check on the whole person, know? And that's just, he garnered it from the far reaches of the internet and from the community response.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Really interesting to see how that was received.
Well, and, with the 4th of July weekend, we always do a huge fireworks show, and I put that show on conducted out in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, out over ponds. It's a beautiful thing.
At a large piece of property, on a private
Property, yeah.
private property with consent of everybody in the area, right?
Correct.
It's a very respectful show.
Yep, we only do it once a year, and it's usually between 20 minutes, a half hour long. So it's a really respectable private fireworks show. This year, because of other circumstances, not because of Xander's Eye, we had to reschedule it. We're actually going to do it Labor Day weekend, but because of that, and because I know how excited Xander and the other kids were to do fireworks, first of all, we committed to going to the parade because we weren't going to be in the parade.
Sure.
We committed going to the parade. Kristen's like, well, I'll let you just take the kids. I'm like, no, we're doing this as a family thing.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And we were happy to see her here.
So we did that, and then afterwards we ended up back, finally after leaving for 6 times from the end of the parade photo shoot, we finally made it home. And the weather held out, so I shot off 5 cakes of fireworks that launched up 150 feet in the air, and were pretty impressive. We had all of our neighbors out watching it, hooting and hollering.
Sure.
So they were happy
awesome.
that I did it again in the neighborhood, because I haven't done it in the neighborhood in years, because
Sure.
I don't want to leave that mess in everybody's yards, and I have to go around and try to clean up all the debris afterwards. But everybody was excited that we did something.
Sure.
That's awesome.
And done it. And of course, as we always have to contextualize, Jeffrey literally has a level of professional training. He was actually volunteer fire department for just under a decade or so, and has been working along professional, pyrotechnics, people who make money doing this. And you have been hosting this event for a long time. So
I've got 20 years of experience with fireworks at this point.
yeah.
And,
so this is not somebody going out. Not to share your glory, but right now there's a meme circulating that somewhere in America, somebody's waking up with the last day that they will have 10 fingers.
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
And so
And honestly,
could
that
always
kind of-
happen.
That kind of stuff always makes me nervous. So every year we look at how can we make the show even safer and even better.
Sure.
So we're always looking at that. We look at the distance that we keep everybody from the fireworks. We look at the types of racks we're using, how to expand the racks, what fusing techniques I can expand upon to have less reloads.
Yes.
Eventually I will get to an electric ignition system that I can be across the pond from where we light them and ignite them from the cell phone. That is something I want to do eventually. Financially, we're trying to do it in stages. Building
That's
the show.
That's what you
that
gotta do.
passion, right? It's a
Yeah.
metal shop and building a house out of a dream and a hope and a prayer. So
Yep.
it's just
There's always a
little
better
bit at a
tool.
time. Yeah, always a better tool.
Always a better tool, but if you do it the appropriate way, and for those that are going to still do fireworks this coming up for the 4th of July tonight or tomorrow, just take those extra safety measures.
Yep.
Have a fire extinguisher nearby.
Liquid courage
Don't-
is not your friend when you're doing
No.
fireworks
No,
too.
yeah, don't drink while doing fireworks. Never look down the tube, because that's a lot of people lose an eye, lose facial burns, whatever, from looking down the tube after the firework didn't go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's still live.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's always a thing. It's a human experience for one reason or the other.
Oh yeah.
With that said, there is actually a fireworks show this evening. Is the Conneaut, Ohio fireworks. That's just a simply majestic experience.
Boom over the lake, or
yeah,
red, white,
they
and boom?
actually
Red, white, and boom.
Red, white, and boom. Really cute, creative name. But the big thing that's unique to Conneaut is they set them off on our sandbar.
Yep.
They shoot off out up over the lake perspective. Oftentimes, you'll get a nice reflection off the lake itself. Lots of seating, lots of space for people to go. And so I've traveled elsewhere for fireworks shows, and despite the fact that it's not the most, financially, they don't have the same budget that, say, like Pittsburgh might have to shoot off their fireworks. The majesty of how the space and the environment is
The charm outweighs the majesty.
correct. Right, the charm and the majesty of it far outweigh the financial.
And
how many
with
they
all
have.
the Canadian wildfires and all the extra haze in the air, I imagine this year's actually going to be really cool, because you're going to get that extra glow to it
Yeah,
as it reflects off that haze.
I believe that.
And one of the coolest things for myself, being such a car nerd I am, it is so cool to be able to go to this one. And you can be in your Jeep or your vintage Jeep or your classic car and observe the fireworks from that, and being that as part of the experience for your children. So as last couple of years, we've been in Amy 7, we've been in the Rambler, and I enjoy that part of it so much.
Yeah, that's interesting from that auto enthusiast, that diehard auto enthusiast experience.
Yeah, I keep thinking, like, can't wait till I can do this with the 36.
Do you remember when we randomly pulled off the side of the highway in Pittsburgh?
In a convertible.
In a convertible. We put the drop top down.
Very cold.
We put the drop top down.
The girls had blankets.
Yeah. I don't remember why there were fireworks, but Scott.
It was the anniversary of Pittsburgh. If I remember right, or birthday of Pittsburgh.
Okay. And this was years ago. In that convertible, that those of you who listened to the podcast last week regarding that convertible that I had purchased for my wife and put the big bow on that she read me the riot act over.
And then you had to repair constantly.
Nah, it's a Sebring. That's part of it.
Might have stored it in my yard for a while.
Might have. That was before I went up. Let's not disclose too many secrets about where things get stored.
Your wife shared quite a few secrets.
She did. She revealed
and she called you out on all the stuff you tried to hide that she knew more about.
She knows. My wife knows a lot of stuff.
She's
like
my
an active
wife.
participant in my shenanigans.
They both let us get away with murder. They just remind us once in a while.
Scott,
right, that's exactly
my favorite part, though, Scott, was when we were talking about wild stories. I brought up the fires of the Jeeps that he's been in, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, you've literally been in it. When it's been up, I don't remember this.
Yeah,
that's
just such a small blip on the radar.
She blocks it from her memory.
Being married to me is such a big excursion that the vehicle on fire is just pales in comparison to everyday experiences with me, apparently.
Chuck just brought up they knock it out of the park with a D-Day reenactment. So
definitely.
Connie does a great job with that.
Yeah, really neat space. If you are within a kind of traveling distance, obviously our listening audience is international, and we thank you for listening to us. But you ever find yourself in that area, traveling distance to Conneaut, Ohio, beautiful park facility, great neat space for the fireworks for the 4th of July, and amazing D-Day reenactment.
I gotta do a 2-second plug.
Yes.
Thursday nights there's a car show, and you can obviously bring your Jeep. Great guy puts it on, has been doing it for I think 27 years.
Yeah.
In that same park. So if you ever are free on a Thursday afternoon, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those great things.
It's a neat local facility. So a lot of positivity around our community, and
they're
really
redeveloping it right now too.
They are. They're doing, and I'll talk about that. And I'll just make the statement I was going to say. There's really what I wanted to do and talk about on 4th of July was just kind of the common things that unite us and the positive aspects of our community, to really accentuate those for our listening audience. And I thought it was only fitting for the 4th, for that awe-inspiring experiences that we all hopefully will take part in. That is representative of America. The redevelopment, and it's important. It's always funny to hear people weigh in on geopolitical or social political things they may or may not be conscientious of. In the city of Conneaut, there are arguably 3 or 4 different entities that all coexist, that make up the whole of our council or city leadership. The township park has its own board, and they have their own kind of direction and leadership and own rules that they play with under the jurisdiction of Conneaut, Ohio. The Port Authority equally sits right next to the township park authority, and they too have their own set of rules and regulations that they play with.
Yeah, and if you come in from an outsider, you would almost think it's all one park.
You think it's all one park, and honestly, a lot of people from Conneaut don't actually recognize the fact that these are separate entities.
Yeah.
Then we have city and the city council as a whole, which encompasses a good bit of this, and then their land jurisdiction does affect those two groups, but those two groups operate independently of city council. And then we have the Monroe Township trustees. So that's the group to the south. So Conneaut is actually one of the largest land masses city-wise. and in Ashtabula County, which is actually one of the largest landmass counties in the state of Ohio.
I think it is the largest, isn't it?
It has it. I believe it is, and it's one of those per capita things.
Yep.
So, with that said, the township actually has funding that they get independent of the council, of the city officials. And recently, it's important to note that Cleveland Metro Parks, which is a large land purchasing endeavor to redevelop natural landscapes across Ohio, has moved solidly their reach into Conneaut. So there's all these different official entities at play.
Yep.
They're not all sharing out of the same bucket of funds. And what that brings me to is the development of the concession stand and restroom facilities. Despite the fact that they do have to seek a level of city council approval, they operate financially on their own at the township level. It was also interesting as a sidebar, they close at dusk last night, and township was absolutely towing vehicles, impounding and towing vehicles out of Township Park last night. My wife and kids and I, we make it to spend as much time on the beach as humanly possible. And so we were down on the waterfront, and they had a big megaphone going, "We are going to tow your vehicle."
Speaking of family, your family just walked
I
in.
see that, and we might.
I'm waving to them off camera. I don't care
Right?
that people are seeing me wave.
No doubt. That's I hear them come. Jennifer was actually, she's probably showing up because she wants to be on the podcast so
Well, come on
badly.
back.
Come on down. No, last piece on the concession stand and the geopolitical stuff. The new concession stand and restrooms is going to be a big, beautiful, modern facility. They actually took it as inspiration from, honestly, I believe a facility that was created at Hocking Hills. It'll actually be family-style restrooms. So as we go forward in the conversations of 2023 plus, there's really not a concern about bathroom facilities. There will be independent bathroom facilities that people can use at their leisure, and single-use bathroom facilities, and then a large concession stand area that will be able to serve park attendees sufficiently for these bigger events.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, they had
And the car shows, they
in
set it
my-
up to
100%.
to make sure that the car shows are going to be well
I
attended.
mean,
there,
I
too.
imagine I've gone to a couple car shows in my life.
A couple car shows.
So I've seen many a concession stand and many restroom facility,
Right.
and even our old stuff that they have currently torn down was above average. I mean, we had the nice roll-up doors,
Yes.
nice seating, nice benches, nice tables. They are proud of that stuff, and that is one of the things that makes that environment so nice.
Well, and I think that is part of that American spirit, is having
Yes.
pride in what we do. It kind of goes back to, we've turned our passion into our professions.
Yep.
But it gives us pride in the product that we produce.
and it's call to action to
There's
people.
a lot of P's in that statement.
Yeah.
There was.
If you don't like something in your local community, or you say, "Oh, I wish this was like this," get involved, make it happen.
It's the beauty of the 4th of July, man.
Yes.
It's all about getting active,
Yep.
right? And celebrating that activity, that American spirit.
I think on that, I think we're gonna wrap up.
I think we
and-
got to wrap up. We got to let our viewing and listening
I
audience
was gonna
get back on with their life.
I was gonna say we've been rambling for a minute. I bet they want to get to their holiday
We'll
celebration.
get to their holiday celebrations from, realistically, from our family, from the Jeep family, from the plaid and leopard print background. We wish you the best, a safe, prosperous, if you will, 4th of July. Enjoy cooking out and spending time with, the ones you love. We certainly kicked that off in a strong sense with the Jeep Parade over the weekend.
Absolutely.
So we thank you, those of you who have participated. If you want to get in on that action, there's going to be a great vlog and video coverage coming out produced by the Savage. And thank you to him and, honestly, my son Leo for running up and down the parade route in the go-kart or golf cart. That Jeffrey, you and Savage keep procuring these golf carts,
It's
man.
great. It's awesome.
And
And
such
and
hustle.
No, what's better is the footage I sent to Davey. I hope he does get it included in that.
Yeah.
There was some issues with the
coverage?
golf cart.
Oh boy. Oh
and,
buddy.
and I took the opportunity to record you and Davey.
As you should. Always.
Yeah.
At my finest. The funny thing is people see me at this point in my life in goofy shirts and goofy hats and, fanny packs and all. I want you to know I did all the serious stuff. I built the cool Jeeps. I went the places. I did the things. I
time to
fixed
have
the
a little
broken. I've been in too many environments where people think that they are just too cool for school, and I'm just having
So
fun.
I'm gonna
with it
do
at this
something to
point.
you real quick. If you find cool socks, you gotta send them to Neil.
I
He
wear
has
the
mad sock game.
I got a mad sock game. I love being at events with fun, silly.
My family
interesting
has been on
socks.
vacation before and been like, Uncle Neil needs those socks.
And I love. I think you guys actually got me the Space Kitty socks. Just so you know, if you've gotten me fun socks in the past, I know who you are and what socks you've given me, and I've
he'll wear
passed that
them.
on to my son. I wear them. I'll credit you. And anytime I wheel, and it's one of those things, I haven't been on the trail in so long, and I look forward to getting back out there soon. I wheel in fun socks because we have to have a little fun with what we do.
Yeah.
Dan says, happy birthday, America. And Daddy Jeep, some of us are still working, and we appreciate and thank everybody that is out there working and helping keeping America move forward. As
That is
as
the
part
truth.
of that, we have to get some work done today as well.
Absolutely. Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.